There are moments in life when no words are needed, because a single glance can pass judgment, because a simple dress is enough to imprison you inside the cold, silent box called prejudice. That day, under the brightest chandelier lights in the city, surrounded by diamonds larger than the smallest of dreams, a woman stepped in a Cartier Mansion carrying nothing but the calm radiating from her upright posture and the unwavering resolve in her ash-gray eyes. No designer handbag, no glittering armor of luxury, no crown upon her head. Only a quiet pride that the world had so hastily dismissed. They laughed at her. They whispered venomous words behind her back. They turned away as if her mere presence contaminated their precious air. They thought she didn't belong there. But only minutes later, when a black Rolls-Royce Phantom pulled up at the red carpet, when a name that needed no introduction strode through the grand entrance, they realized, too late, that the brightest light in this room had never come from the sparkling stones behind the glass. It had come from the unbowed heart of the very woman they had tried to trample. And in that moment, their entire world crumbled because they had forgotten one eternal truth. Sometimes the most precious things don't need to glitter to shine. They only need enough pride to endure. There are moments when the world doesn't need words to judge you. A fleeting glance alone can exile you to the margins. Cartier Mansion on Fifth Avenue, amidst the commanding red hues and the glittering chandeliers, was the sanctuary of those who wore their names and fortunes as crowns. Here, every diamond spoke its own language, and every step was measured by the scent of power. Into this world, Elise Morgan appeared, a woman clad in a simple white linen dress, soft Hermes sandals on her feet, clutching a faded canvas tote. She was a discordant note in a symphony of opulence. No couture gown studded with crystals, no Chanel handbag, no Audemars Piguet watch flashing under the lights. Elise walked in carrying only a simplicity the world here refused to forgive. The moment she pushed open the heavy glass door, every conversation, every clink of crystal glasses, faltered for the briefest of seconds. Behind the counter, a staff member with a sparkling name tag glanced over at Elise, his lips curling into a faint, cold smirk before he tilted his head toward a colleague and muttered, not quietly enough to be discreet, "Probably just casing the place. Watch her." Gazes struck her, not with words, but with a chill sharp as steel. Each eye roll, each raised eyebrow, each suppressed giggle behind scarlet lipstick slicing away pieces of her dignity without ever needing to lay a hand on her. Elise hesitated for a brief moment, her fingers tightening around the worn strap of her bag, her ash-gray eyes lifting to the room awash in light. Rings, necklaces, glittering chains, everything whispering that this place was not for those who wore the wrong kind of crown. Yet she continued forward, moving lightly, as if she heard none of it, each step barely a whisper against the cold marble floor, each breath seeming to shatter into 1,000 tiny fragments under the relentless glow. No words of defense, no gestures of defiance, only an unyielding calm radiated from her upright shoulders and the hand that refused to let go of her faded tote. And while the entire Cartier Mansion watched her like hawks circling prey, Elise Morgan, the woman with the humblest appearance in the city's most extravagant room, had no idea that, just moments later, the world would learn a lesson. That sometimes the brightest light does not come from the diamonds locked behind glass, but from the silent pride they had been so quick to scorn. Elise paused in front of the central display, where the pink star diamond necklace gleamed beneath the crystal lights like a crown reserved for a chosen world. The stone's soft pink glow brushed her face with a fragile hue, and in Elise's ash-gray eyes, a fleeting light sparked, a simple human longing, to gaze upon, to feel, something truly beautiful. But the moment she spoke, her voice clear yet gentle, "I'd like to see the pink star diamond, please." The world around her cracked like a thin sheet of glass. Victoria Lane, the sales associate wrapped in a form-fitting black dress, her eyes outlined sharply like blades, gave a paper-thin smile before speaking loud enough for everyone in the hall to hear. "That piece is reserved for serious buyers only, ma'am. Not for browsing tourists. A ripple of giggles floated from the corner of the room, where Sienna Drake, the famous fashion icon, stood among her friends in a shimmering couture gown, casting sidelong glances at Elise as if she were a stain on the perfect marble floor. Elise's fingers tightened slightly around her bag strap. Her lips pressed together, but her voice remained steady. "I understand. I'd still like to see it. I can afford it." Victoria arched an eyebrow, her smile sharpening into something colder, crueler. "Do you even know how much it costs?" Her words cut through the air, each syllable carving into the silence like a blade. The room froze for a beat. Then the murmurs began, buzzing like insects under the velvet carpets. "She thinks this is a thrift store," a woman in a white fur coat whispered, her crimson lips curling in disdain. "Maybe she wandered off from the Fifth Avenue market." A man in a pinstriped suit chuckled dryly, his gaze heavy with mockery. A silver coin flashed through the air, landing with a soft clink against Elise's simple Hermes sandals, followed by Sienna Drake's drawled voice. "Bus fare, darling. You'll need it." Laughter rang out, sharp and brittle like shattering crystal. Each whisper, each stolen photo, each sneering glance pelting the woman in the white dress like invisible arrows. Elise did not stoop to pick up the coin. She simply gripped the strap of her bag tighter, her eyes locked on the necklace, as if clinging to the last fragment of kindness the world seemed to have forgotten. And amidst the storm of stares, she stood there, silent. No complaints, no pleading eyes, only the magnificent stillness of a woman clinging to her dignity, while everyone else around her had long abandoned theirs. It didn't take long for that silver coin and the cold stares of the entire room to ignite a fire that burned Elise's dignity across the world. Before she even stepped beyond Cartier Mansion's heavy crystal doors, stolen photos had already begun circulating online, capturing her face, her simple white dress, and the moment a security guard approached her like a sentence handed down without trial. On Instagram, venomous captions spread like wildfire. Hashtag Linen Lady, hashtag Cartier Reject, hashtag Diamond Thief. Influencers, big and small, rushed to repost the photos, each adding their own cruel jab. When you dream of diamonds, but can't even afford a coffee. Maybe she thought Cartier was handing out freebies today. Someone tell her this isn't a flea market. VIP section? More like a bus stop section. Poor thing probably thinks Cartier is a new kind of cereal. A short, maliciously edited clip, just a few seconds showing Victoria Lane's cold glance and Noah Reid approaching Elise to check her bag, was enough for the internet to draw the worst conclusions. In the distorted frame, Elise was no longer the proud woman clinging to her dignity. She had become a laughingstock for hundreds of thousands of strangers. Every like was a tiny dagger. Every laughing emoji is a brutal strike against her self-respect. Every cruel comment was a thin, sharp cut into her pride. At a small cafe just a few blocks away, Elise sat alone by a cup of cold coffee, absent-mindedly scrolling through her phone, her ash-gray eyes quietly absorbing the barrage of cruel words dancing across the screen like shapeless blades. Look at her pretending to be rich. So embarrassing. Maybe she should start with Kmart before dreaming of Cartier. Hope security checked her shoes, too. Might be hiding jewelry in their LOL. Who let the peasant in? I'd die if I looked like that in Cartier. Laughter erupted from nearby tables, lashes of invisible whips cracking against her heart. It didn't matter why they were laughing. Every sound struck her with ruthless precision. A group of young shoppers, fresh from Cartier, passed by her table, making no effort to hide their ridicule. One girl laughed out loud, slicing the air with a cruel comment. I guess she thought window shopping meant she could actually try stealing windows too. Another snickered. Next time, bring a designer bag. Maybe then they'll only humiliate you privately. Elise gripped the strap of her faded tote tighter, her eyes gazing out toward the horizon, where the last light of the afternoon was fading, like the tiny, scattered embers of her spirit being swept away without mercy. She didn't cry. She didn't argue. She didn't scream for justice. Because she understood. In this world, once people decide you are beneath them, Any attempt to defend yourself only makes them laugh louder. Elsewhere in the city, Nathaniel Morgan's phone lit up, and with a voice that shattered the silence, he spoke just one sentence. "I'm coming now. Stay exactly where you are." Outside the gleaming glass doors of Cartier Mansion, just as the last rays of afternoon light faded, a low, deep sound rolled through the air, as if the heartbeat of the city itself slowed. A black Rolls-Royce Phantom glided silently to a halt, needing no horn, no showy arrival, yet the very air around it seemed to freeze. The car came to a perfect stop before the red-carpeted entrance, its polished surface reflecting the curious, unsettled faces pressed against the glass. The car door opened slowly, and from within, Nathaniel Morgan emerged. A perfectly tailored black suit hugged his tall, commanding frame, and with each step he took, the atmosphere quivered under an invisible, crushing weight. His dark brown hair swept back casually, his deep steel blue eyes cutting through the space like a blade. Nathaniel Morgan needed no introduction. His mere presence bent the world around him on instinct. Pierre Laurent, the boutique manager, was mid-laugh with a few VIP guests when he abruptly fell silent, the champagne flute trembling faintly in his hand. Noah Reed, the security guard who had earlier inspected Elise's tote with suspicious disdain, gripped his radio so tightly that sweat beaded at the back of his neck. Behind the central display, Victoria Lane stood frozen, her manicured crimson nails digging into the polished wood so hard that blood threatened to break the surface. No greetings, no music, no polite chatter. Only the sound of Nathaniel's shoes striking the marble floor, each echo carving mercilessly through the grand, glittering pretense of the place. Behind him, Elise Morgan stepped gracefully out of the car. Her simple white linen dress fluttered softly in the evening breeze, her ash-gray eyes serene, like a still lake before a coming storm. The last golden light of the day crowned her small shoulders with a gentle halo that nothing in this world could tarnish. Nathaniel looked at no one but Pierre Laurent. His voice rang out, low, steady, each word weighted like lead. "Is the staff member who humiliated my wife still working here?" The question fell over Cartier Mansion like a verdict. No one dared breathe. No one dared answer. Pierre Laurent stumbled forward, his face draining to a ghostly white, his lips trembling as he stammered. "Mr. Morgan, there must be some misunderstanding." But Nathaniel's eyes, cold, razor-sharp, sliced through every excuse before it could form. He didn't need a shout. His silence alone was the most brutal condemnation. And when Elise stepped up beside him, her head held high, as if she had never once bowed beneath the scornful gazes of the world, the entire room understood. The storm they had mocked was quietly arriving. And this time, there would be no shelter. The grand hall of Cartier Mansion remained frozen under the glacial stare of Nathaniel Morgan, every passing second slicing thinner the arrogance that had once served as this place's armor. Nathaniel turned toward Elise, and for a brief moment, his gaze softened, filled with nothing but absolute warmth for her. Then he gave a short, commanding order, his voice low and resonant like a death knell. "Bring me the pink star diamond. Now." Pierre Laurent nodded frantically, his trembling hands fumbling the glass cabinet keys, which clattered loudly against the marble floor, a hollow gunshot in the stunned silence. The staff scrambled to open the display, the light from the pink star diamond flashing out, a cruel reminder of the ruthless distance they had once used to humiliate Elise. No one spoke. No one dared object. Only heads bowed low, and ragged breaths betrayed the dawning horror of how gravely they had misjudged her. Elise stood quietly amid the silent chaos, showing no rush, no gloating triumph. She merely waited in stillness as Nathaniel placed the pink star diamond into her hands, a ritual that the entire room was forced to witness. Nathaniel then bent slightly, tenderly clasping the necklace around Elise's neck, his fingertips brushing her skin with absolute reverence. He straightened, turning his gaze toward the very people who had sneered at her. His eyes were so piercing that the air around them seemed to shudder. And then he spoke, not shouting, but but delivering each word like a hammer blow against the crumbling wall of their pride. Now she doesn't need anyone's approval, especially not from the likes of you. A stifled gasp rippled through the crowd. Sienna Drake stumbled backward, her glittering couture gown no longer enough to mask her pale, stricken face. Victoria Lane swallowed hard, her trembling hands clawing at the edge of the counter. Noah Reed stood frozen, a broken statue amid the ruins of arrogance. Nathaniel didn't stop. He turned to Pierre Laurent, his voice slicing through the final layer of pretense. Fire them, all of them. And if you hesitate for even a second, I will buy this place just to shut it down. Pierre Laurent nodded furiously, the sound of his gulp echoing in the dead silence. His voice cracked as he announced, Victoria Lane, Noah Reed, you're terminated. Effective immediately. Victoria crumpled, her high heels wobbling on the marble floor, tears smudging her once flawless, expensive mascara. No one moved to help her. No one even dared breathe as the verdict fell. Elise stood there silently, the pink star diamond gleaming against her throat, needing no words, no smile, because her calm, unshakable silence had become the greatest declaration of the dignity the world had so nearly buried. And in that moment, beneath the brilliant but cold crystal lights, they all realized. Some diamonds weren't locked behind glass. They stood tall in the center of the room, radiating an inner brilliance no price tag could ever capture. Less than an hour after Nathaniel Morgan and Elise left Cartier Mansion, the real storm began. Videos capturing the entire incident flooded social media like a tidal wave, tearing apart the glittering facade of luxury. Clips showing Elise being humiliated, her bag searched in the Grand Hall, were sharply edited and paired with the moment Nathaniel coldly fired those who had dared insult his wife. Video titles blazed across platforms. The Queen in Linen, Justice Served at Cartier, How Cartier Mansion Humiliated the Wrong Woman. The hashtag Justice for Elise exploded on Twitter within 30 minutes, drawing millions of shares and an outpouring of unprecedented outrage. Each comment struck like a bullet at the arrogant heart of Cartier Mansion. How dare they treat a woman like that? Elise Morgan is pure class. Cartier is pure trash. Respect is not a brand. It's how you treat people. Major outlets like Forbes, the New York Times, and Vogue quickly picked up the story, publishing fierce articles condemning Cartier's blatant discrimination. Images of Victoria Lane, her face streaked with ruined mascara, publicly fired, spread like wildfire across Instagram and TikTok, becoming instant memes. Her LinkedIn profile was quickly buried under a flood of angry comments. This is what elitism looks like. Hope you enjoy working at the local gas station. Noah Reed fared no better. Leaked internal chats revealed he had repeatedly mocked customers who dressed simply, fueling public outrage and leading major retailers to blacklist him. Pierre Laurent, the boutique manager, attempted a vague, half-hearted apology video, but it only fanned the flames. Comments crashed down like furious waves. Apologize louder. Your elitism is still louder. Cartier Mansion is over. Good riddance. Within 2 days, Cartier Mansion sales plummeted by 82%. Orders were canceled en masse. VIP clients demandaient refund. Yelp ratings crashed to 1 star, with thousands of boycott reviews pouring in. Elitist garbage. They sell jewelry but forgot to sell humanity. Boycott Cartier Mansion forever. Elise didn't need to speak. She didn't need to appear. Her image, standing silently in her simple white linen dress amid the grandeur of Cartier, it became a symbol of quiet but unshakable pride. And while social media erupted into a frenzy, somewhere deeper, a quieter earthquake had begun, shaking the very foundations of a culture built on appearances and judgment. While the world was still reeling from the storm named Justice for Elise, in a quieter place, Elise Morgan was preparing a silent but far deeper revolution. She didn't choose to speak out in defense. She didn't engage in the raging public debates. She chose to answer in the only way that truly proud souls know, by transforming pain into action. Just 1 week after the incident at Cartier Mansion, Elise held a small press conference at an old library in the Upper East Side. No red carpet, no blinding camera flashes. Only natural light is pouring through the large arched windows. Elise stepped up to the podium, dressed simply in a navy blue dress, her hair neatly tied up, her face devoid of elaborate makeup. In her hands, she held a slim folder bearing a brand new logo, Morgan Foundation. Her voice was calm and warm, ringing clearly across the packed room of journalists. Today, I am honored to announce the creation of the Morgan Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to supporting women who face discrimination in elite environments. Each word Elise spoke pierced straight through the fortified walls of arrogance that had long hidden behind invisible barriers. She continued, her ash-gray eyes not trembling but ablaze with steadfast conviction. No one should be judged by their clothes, their purse, or their background. Everyone deserves respect, dignity, and opportunity. The room erupted in a long, thunderous applause. Camera shutters clicked in a symphony of silent promises made to Elise. The Foundation's initial fund, $15 million, exactly the value of the pink star diamond necklace, was invested entirely by Elise without a moment's hesitation to launch the first initiatives. From that moment, Morgan Foundation immediately began rolling out real programs. Leadership scholarships for young women, free legal counsel for victims of discrimination, awareness campaigns targeting toxic cultures in business and high fashion. In just the first 3 months, over 500 women across America received support from Morgan Foundation. Women who had once been rejected, mocked, and cast aside now walked forward with heads held high, carrying the strength Elise had sparked within them. More than that, the ripple effect forced many other luxury brands to re-examine their long-ignored discriminatory practices. Several companies revised their staff training policies and issued new commitments to fairness and respect toward all customers. And through it all, Elise never sought recognition. She worked quietly, appearing in strategic meetings with nothing but her faded canvas tote, her ash-gray eyes serene, her desk piled high with new project plans. No diamonds, no glittering armor, only the pure, unshakable strength of a woman who had once been misjudged by the entire world, but had never, not even once, lost herself. 6 months after that fateful day, the glass doors of Cartier Mansion on Fifth Avenue no longer swung open. A thin layer of dust gathered over empty display cases. The once proud gleam of the crystal lights now hung dull and gray. The Cartier sign was quietly taken down. No ceremony, no farewell, leaving behind only bitter memories embedded in the city that never sleeps. Across the golden autumn streets, Elise Morgan stood before the conference hall of the Morgan Foundation. Her blonde hair was tied neatly back. A simple navy dress framed her graceful figure. Her ash-gray eyes shone with profound calm. Behind her, the large screen displayed a simple but weighty message. Dignity is louder than diamonds. Elise stepped up to the podium. No introduction was needed. The room had already fallen into complete silence, waiting to catch every beat of her heart. Her voice rang out, gentle, steady, each word cutting straight into the souls of those present. 6 months ago, a door closed for me, but it opened 1,000 doors for others. And today, I am proud to say, we're just getting started. The hall erupted in a roaring, standing ovation. The chant of justice for Elise rose, transforming into a call for a new movement. Those who had once been rejected, mocked, judged by the shoes they wore or the bags they carried, now held their heads high, walking in a light they had forged themselves. And in a quiet corner of the room, Nathaniel Morgan stood, silently watching. His gaze carried not just admiration, but a profound pride. Pride for the woman who needed no diamonds to shine, because she herself was the light. That evening, in a small villa in the Hamptons, Elise and Nathaniel sat together in a garden filled with the fragrance of flowers. Paper lanterns cast a warm, tender glow. Laughter floated under a sky strewn with stars. Elise still wore her familiar white linen dress. Nathaniel was simply dressed in a rolled-up shirt and khakis. Between them, there were no boasts, no glittering promises, only the firm clasp of hands and the unspoken understanding in their eyes. Because they knew the most precious things in life cannot be bought, cannot be flaunted. They can only be felt with the heart. On the rustic wooden table lay a freshly printed photograph. Elise, standing proudly at the Morgan Foundation's main hall, her ash-gray eyes burning with an undying flame, her smile brighter than any jewel that had ever sparkled behind Cartier's glass. And as a soft breeze lifted the corner of the photo, one could glimpse a small handwritten note on the back, a gentle, yet eternal reminder from Elise herself. Shine quietly, change loudly. I remember that day vividly, so vividly that every time I close my eyes, I can still hear the sound of the coin dropping onto the cold marble floor, the suffocating murmur of laughter beneath the heavy chandeliers. I stood in the corner of the room that day, champagne glass in hand, my lips curled into a sneer as I watched her enter. A woman in a simple white linen dress, plain Hermes sandals, no Chanel bag, no expensive perfume, no mark that she belonged among us. In my mind, then, there was only one thought: out of place. We looked at her the way kings once looked at jesters. Victoria Lane smirked. Noah Reed cast her a contemptuous glare. And I delivered the cruelest joke of my life. Maybe she thought Cartier was running a clearance sale. I remember her eyes, those ash-gray eyes, heartbreakingly calm. She didn't fight back. She didn't lash out. She simply tightened her grip on her bag and stood there, like a lone pillar against a storm of mockery. We took pictures. We filmed. We sent them to the VIP's group chat and laughed like cruel children who had no idea we were burning human beings' dignity with every share and every laughing emoji. But then the black Rolls-Royce Phantom appeared, and all of us fell silent. Nathaniel Morgan entered, without speaking, without rage. Just a single question, a single glance, and the entire room crumbled. I remember Pierre Laurent swallowing hard. I remember Victoria's trembling hands clutching the glass counter. I remember the thick, choking air where even breathing felt like shame. And I remember the moment Elise lifted her chin and received the pink star diamond from Nathaniel. Not as jewelry, but as a declaration that she had never been beneath us, that her light had never needed diamonds to shine. Then came the social media storm, the viral videos, the millions who raged on her behalf. Victoria's career was shattered. Noah Reed was fired. The Cartier Mansion closed forever. Hashtag justice for Elise flooded everywhere. And me? I lost everything. My reputation, my brand deals, the event invites that vanished overnight. But the greatest thing I lost wasn't any of that. It was the man I saw in the mirror every morning. A man I could no longer forgive. A man who once believed that a person's worth was measured by the bag they carried and the watch they wore. If I could turn back time, I would only want to say this to Elise. I'm sorry. You taught me a lesson I will never, ever forget. That silent kindness is stronger than the loudest chandeliers. That true dignity never needs validation. It only needs one soul brave enough to hold on to it when the world tries to tear it away. There are diamonds so rare and priceless, yet none can compare to the light that shines from a steadfast heart. The story of Elise Morgan reminds us that the true worth of a person has never been about the appearance they wear. It lies in the dignity they choose to uphold. In this world, there will be times when you are judged by what you wear, what you carry, or where you come from. There will be cold stares and cruel whispers, trying to trap you inside the small boxes they build. But if you hold onto your dignity, if you protect the light within you, sooner or later, the world will have no choice but to see you differently. The lesson here is simple, yet profoundly deep. Dignity is not something you seek. It is something you steadfastly hold. The message this story carries to each of us is clear. Never let what's outside define who you are, because sometimes your silence is the loudest voice of all. Speaking personally, this story strengthens my belief in the power of kindness, resilience, and quiet perseverance. It reminds me that success doesn't always come from shouting for justice. Sometimes it comes from standing tall when the world turns its back. Thank you for staying with us until the end of this story. If you, too, believe in the value of compassion, resilience, and wish to walk alongside more powerful, soul-stirring stories like this, please hit like and share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to Toch Story so you never miss a story that touches the heart. Because with every subscription, you make a silent promise with us. A promise that together, we will continue to spread more beautiful light across this world.